Hey, welcome back. Appreciate you coming back, hanging out. So, as promised, I have my neat model here to show you. But again, I know these last two episodes have been, about the past predominantly, and kind of more of a negative doomsday type of mentality. And that's just, again, worst case scenario. I'm going to show you a bunch of different possibilities or scenarios here of things that could or couldn't happen or are happening now. But again, yesterday is history, and today is a mystery, as they say. And that's more than evident these days in this type of industry. So if there's anything I can do to make this make sense, is to show you guys in this budget and projection that I've come up with here. So hold on tight, Karen. All right. And also, just a friendly service reminder, this is not the Hallmark Channel, so be prepared. But welcome to my neat model, as delivered or as promised. But a couple things to point out here too. So again, this is just my best representation I can come up with for this is going to be week to week, but there's also going to be some annual and monthly figures in here as well. So, but typically, as the restaurant industry is, and a lot of industries as well, it's week to week, day by day, hour by hour, and I don't have it broken down into hours. I'm not going that far. If I developed this any farther, I think I'd be naming these people the hourly staff here. So we're not going that far, and I kept it pretty simple too. So we're not figuring in for prep or opening time, and I compensate that without cuts. So assuming we're using the 14-hour operation 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. That's the hours these folks are scheduled for, and you can see that by their shift. 4 p.m. would be the shift change from a.m. to p.m. So we're doing lunch and dinner here. Not figuring in after hours, closing time, labor to compensate without hours. Or without cuts, excuse me. So again, they're just working those operating hours. There's no production time, cleaning time, stuff like that. No busters, no food runners, no bar backs, no cashiers with prep cooks. So this cooks line does have prep cooks in consideration. The server's line is a little bit loaded if you did want to move somebody over into a busser or a food runner, bar back, cashier, whatever role you may have. There's some flexibility here where you could take one, probably maybe two from some shifts to do that and still make everything happen. But again, I didn't have that. I'm not trying to make this overly detailed, but I did kind of account for those hours that you would have for some support staff here and there. But this is, again, very basic. We used an average hourly rate of $10 an hour for all staff. And again, this comes down to where you are geographically in terms of what your minimum wage is for tipped employees, hourly employees, typically, kitchens, back of the house, that sort of those staff, those departments, typically get paid higher than minimum wage, hopefully. Usually it's higher than $10. So that's kind of why I use 10 as a balance and just kind of as a national average, I guess. And it's also a lot easier in terms of doing math. So it's still, I think, pretty representative and realistic in terms of what we've got going on here in the current situation around the U.S. There's also no overtime here, so it's just everybody's working straight 40 hours or less. But again, you've got this. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's slide over here. I named this place is above average. It's in Boulder, Colorado. It seats 400. My fictitious made-up restaurant. I don't know if that's a real place or not, but rent here at above average is $15,000 a month, and electricity averages about $5,000 a month. Other utilities, gas and water, are $4,000, and that's an average throughout the last few years of above average's operation. Projections at this point, but realistically, that's what you're going to go with. And just keep in mind too, something to think about as we go through these different scenarios and percentages of operation. These things don't change. These are static. You turn the lights and the AC on, your electricity for these hours of operations, 14 hours, 7 days a week. You're still going to pay, about $5,000. You might be able to shave some of that off, but you're still looking at thousands. Same with gas and water. Big chunk of this. I was probably figuring 3,500 of this is gas and 500 it might be water. But once you turn your fryers on, your ovens, your stoves, cooktops, skillets, whatever on, that stuff's on for the day, and you know it. So these are going to stay the same, okay? And that's a big chunk of your operating capital. This is a pretty healthy, vibrant restaurant too. This is we're doing almost $5 million annually, which excuse me, Rona, is may or may not sound like a lot to you, but it is. That's a lot for a lot of restaurants. $5 million a year, doing just under 100,000 a week. And again, this is an average. Some weeks will be 110, some will be 120, some will be 90, 80, and so on and so forth. But again, I'm just trying to get you a general idea. So projected monthly is just under $400,000. And again, I've got it broken up here into the different days of the week, the different shifts, AM and PM, and what you project, what the sales are theoretically going to be. The average hour. The only reason I like looking at this, realistically, you'd be looking at real time to see where you're at. But when you get into these shifts where you're breaking 1,000, is where you're obviously going to be in a profitable situation. Not to say you're going to do $1,000 hours. If you're going to do $9,000 in 8 hours, that's not going to be $11.25 every hour on the hour. It's going to be a big bulk of that's going to come at once. So, because I don't know if you guys know this, but each one of these shifts kind of works as an arc or a curve. Everybody knows what a curve is these days, especially. So you've got as the curve rises, and like a Friday night is going to come in a couple little lulls because you're going to flip those tables a couple times. But each one's going to have and then you kind of go down. You might have a little happy hour as industry comes in or something, and then you're done. And these little lulls here are great too. These are where you smoke your cigarettes. These right here. And then maybe another one here. And then after you get down to this area, it's just whenever you want. Boom. But anyway, sorry, bear with me. That's a curve. And that's every one of these shifts too. The Monday AM is going to be pretty short. You're up and down, and that's it. But when you do break 1,000, so what I'm getting at is you're going to have hours where you're doing 3,000, 2,000, 1,500 consistently hour after hour, maybe 2,000, 2,500, something like that to achieve these kind of numbers. To do 13,000 on a PM shift, you're going to be rocking and rolling 14,000. There's going to be a couple pushing $4,000 hours in there. And then you've got each department broken up, staff for each shift, what you would expect. You got a host. This place is operating a bar, open for lunch. Again, 5 servers can handle the lunch crowd, 5 cooks. One of those is going to be pulled off into dish. You got a four-person line and then 1 dishwasher. And one thing I like to watch too is your cost per hour, just what you're spending every single hour you're open on labor. And it's something to consider. So your percentage per hour by the day, it's not that necessarily that important. Your shift length, just for reference. But then again, your shift total. So what it cost you to burn those, to be open for those 6 hours cost you $780. Okay. That's 22% of the sales you ran here. PM shift, you're looking at 6,500 that you ran from 4 o'clock on to midnight. Didn't quite get to 1,000. Ran with this lineup, 780 to get an hour. Got you just under 21%, and that's almost 21, just over 21% is what we ran out with. And again, this repeats over and over and over again based on what you need. I think I figured there was some sort of special on Wednesday too, so I think I had an extra server or some extra staff in here somewhere. But that's why you see this little labor a little bit higher here. But as obviously you got totals down here at the bottom. So again, we're running just under 100,000 every week. Shift totals, so you got 26 host shifts every single week, 21 bar, 120 servers, 79 cooks, and 24 dish. Total of 27 total shifts. So if you broke that up into 5, everybody's working 5 days a week, 5 shifts. That's 54 full-time jobs that above average provides for the community. And realistically, that's not 54 full-time jobs. That's probably 20 or 30 full-time jobs, and the let's say 25, and then there's another 50 part-time, in here. So that's around 75 jobs right there. We've also got management salary, came out to 5. And I just figured this is, again, a total guess. 5% of the sales, would dictate or go towards management salary, which I think, I don't have any P&Ls with me, and I apologize for that. But if I was going to guess or go back and look, I bet that would be pretty accurate. And then management benefits would be another 25% of that, bringing us to here. 5 managers to cover all of this. And just for the sake of showing, maybe you don't realize what real life as a manager is, including benefits, your take home, you're looking at $833. So that's not bad. But when you figure in you're working 50 plus hours a week, that's $16 an hour to run a $5 million operation. So it's a thankless job. And there's people that do it because they enjoy it, not just for that money. Don't forget that. But this place turned out pretty well, and I'm honestly kind of proud of myself because, again, I set out to do just before I filled in any of this and knew what this would be or any of this would be, I filled this in. And I was very, very fortunate and happy to find that getting to that amount of sales, I came out to a nice labor of 19.61 for hourly labor, which is really, really pretty nice. Not something I would complain about. Yeah, obviously less is better, but that's definitely workable. So, excuse me, Rona. But that's the gist of the model. That's how it works. And, obviously I can manipulate these with formulas and stuff like that to show you some different things. But I've also got, will make a lot of sense for a lot of people here as well, the breakdown of how this money comes in and comes out. So you've got your weekly sales. 1 week of $15,000 comes out to $3,750. That's to be figured in. Your hourly labor, $19,220. Food cost. Now, food cost typically, and again, I just used the 33% mark for this. You can see up here, 33% of an 80-20 split. So of this 98,000, 80% of that is food, 20% of that is from behind the bar, alcohol, beer, wine, and liquor sales. And that's just for the sake of simplicity. And actually, that's fairly accurate too. In most places, it's been my experience. But 80% of that times 33% comes out to $25,872. Beer, wine, and liquor. At 20%, I took a 25% cost, which is fairly accurate. $4,900 is what you're going to spend. And these are trucks. These are orders that you've placed for raw materials to make all of this work. Electricity, a week's worth of that, $1,250. And gas and water is $1,000. So you started out awesome here, $100,000. You're down to $42,008. You've also got sales tax, which I believe I figured at 8.5. No, I'm sorry, 8.25. And then your FICA tax that you're paying for your hourly staff. Social Security would be 6.25 of that. Comes out to $1,192. Medicare, another 1.45%, $278.69. And this is a match. Keep in mind, your employees are paying this too for themselves, but you also have to match all of those. Unemployment, I'll get to that in a minute. The above average is part of a franchise or agreement. States they have to pay a 3% off their gross, so there's $3,000 off of that. And if you're a franchise, this 3% might be high, might be low. 3's on the high side, I would think. But realistically, you could be looking at something like this. Whether you're a McDonald's, above average, a Applebee's, Houlihan's, whatever. That adds up pretty quick. That's a big chunk of your sales. Marketing, we'll say, is 500. Trash costs 150 bucks for the week. Linen, this is probably one of the biggest hidden nightmares or rip-offs in the whole industry is linens. Can cost you up to, say, $600 a week to do $5 million, probably fairly easily, and that might be conservative. Cleaning and chemicals, you've got some cleaning crews that come in and help, do some stuff. So that's $1,200 plus chemicals are very, very expensive as well. Chemicals are probably $400-$500 of that every single week. Pest control, that might be a monthly total, but it happens to come in this week. So you got the invoice for that. You got to pay it. R&M, you got some repair and maintenance to take care of, $800. So, that could be the stove broke 2 weeks ago and you're getting the invoice for that. And then you've got preventative maintenance coming in on Thursday to clean out your air filters and stuff like that. Or it could be the gasket guy coming in or whatever the case may be, but $800 a week, that's pretty normal. Insurance, it's not cheap to keep all of this going, insure all of this and all these people and everybody that walks through the door. It's $1,200 a week. Inspections, I'm talking third-party inspections to come cover your ass to make sure that you're doing things safely already, on top of basically to make you prepared for a health department inspection or anything else you might see. And obviously that's not free. Equipment leases, you're renting dishwashers, it's about $600 a month, so one in the bar and one in the back. So that's broken down by the week here as well. Training, this again, I mentioned this before. This is part of high turnover, $1,600 a week. This time of year, you got, under normal circumstances, you'd be having patios start to open or being open and be, bulking up on service staff and maybe an extra cook or two or a host. So to spend that in a week is not that unrealistic. It's not to say you got to spend that every single week, but that's something that's going to happen. Management salary, bring that over here, $4,900. The benefits on top of that as well. Vacation pay, you got a cook and a host on vacation this week, so obviously you got to take care of them. Paper and to-go products. This is a bad one. This is going to get gnarly because obviously as customer trends have shifted to more of a delivery and to-go curbside type of model themselves. Obviously the cost of this is going to go up, but $1,100 a week, that's not that uncommon, especially again, you're doing $5 million, even if it's just people taking their leftovers home from their dinner. Legals, $500, so $2,000 a month. Human resources, accounting, this stuff is not free. PPE, this is something that obviously is new, but you'll be getting into that as well. And then say you spend $500 on silverware, china, and again, that's a low ball number, but just to say you got nothing broke that week, not much broke. So that's like a case of plates, maybe $500. A couple things I didn't even consider though too: you get delivery fees, unemployment tax, like I mentioned, federal tax, depreciation, interest, internet, credit card fees. These are all credit card fees are expensive, but I didn't want to get into how these people pay. We're not even going to get into that. But say you don't have any, one or two or three of these items in your situation in your restaurant, but you do have credit card fees, you can substitute that in or out however you feel necessary or fit. But let's get to this. Let's show you a couple situations. So let's say the lights come back on and everybody gets to open up full capacity, but realistically, the demand's not quite the same. There's not quite the customer confidence there. So let's say you're lucky and you get 60% of your sales. Okay, so we can take this, bringing us down to $58.80. Are you going to spend the same amount to deliver that, or do you even know? It might take you Monday, Tuesday, you might not fully realize what's going on if you try to just open back up. Let's say you had the ability just to open back up 100%. Might not realize until Tuesday morning that it's not the same. It's not going to happen. So you got to adjust. But let's say you cut some. You still think the weekend's going to be good. Let's say you cut 40% again as well and bring you down to 60. So 11,000. Still back to your 19.61 labor, which is pretty good. Obviously, this is not going to affect this stuff, but it does change these. Shift labor stays about the same. Well, we didn't mess with any of this stuff. I'll change this stuff later on a couple different scenarios. This stuff definitely does not change. So that brings us over here. So instead of doing 98, we're down to 60. Rent is still the same. Labor is still 12, or comes down to 12,000. Food, 33% is actually going to change because we've got supply chain issues. So we're going to bring this up to, we'll say 38. So food's $17,875 now. Beer, wine, and liquor, honestly, this, you're not spending much. You're not selling anything, so we'll call that 0. Electric's the same, gas, water's the same. So minus controllables, you're down to 23,000. Sales tax, still it's 4,800. Social Security, these come down. Franchise fees comes down. So what took us from 12, almost 13% profit, now we're down to 1,800 here. But we haven't figured in PPE, which is going to be probably $1,000 a week. Okay, so now we're down to $720 profit. Anything else here going to increase? Linens might come down a little bit. Chemicals probably going to, well, we'll include anything we're going to buy extra with PPE here. So that's your change. You went from doing almost $13,000 a week in profit to $720 a week in profit without considering any of these items over here. And that's just assuming your food costs went up to 38%, 6 points. This could be 40, especially if you don't know how to manage. Now you're losing $220. Okay? So it could happen that fast. And realistically, that's a bad scenario because you're not going to open up like that. You're not going to be at 60%. And don't get me wrong, I don't think the demand is not there. There's not people that don't want to sit at home. They want to get out and go back to the way things are. But with the way the culture is set up, society, I'm going to leave this at 40. And we'll leave the PPE in there. And what we're going to do is we'll do a scaled opening at 25%. So this is why, hold on, before I do this, I mentioned this before. About this gentleman in Texas, Washburn. I think it was Ray Washburn. Well, if I'm just talking from practical business sense, the first thing we're concerned about is, the health and safety of our employees and our customers, and we're taking that into account first. But if we're going to crawl to 25%, being the largest employer in the state of Texas is the restaurant business, you just can't go at something at just 25%. So let me show you what that's going to be. So if we took this is why he's not, and this is why you shouldn't. I'm talking about dining room, reopening your dining room. There's ways to reconfigure. Whoops, not 25.25. So we're down to 24,000. And let's say you react and only bring on 25% of your staff to pull off the dining room, which is probably inaccurate. You're going to have higher than that. But for the sake of showing you, we're down to 4,800 and still have that awesome 19.61% labor. So 24,000 in sales, rent's still the same, labor is still the same in terms of percentage. We're still at 19.61. Food cost is down to 7,800, but that's using the 40% food cost. Beer, wine, and liquor, again, well, you'd have to bring some of this back because you are serving alcohol again. So $1,000 there you're buying. Even if you took that out, say you wrote it for a week off of what you have or something like that. Electric's the same, gas is the same. So by the time you're done with those, you're down to 4,000. Your tax is 2. 2,000 bucks there you're buying. Even if you took that out, say you wrote it for a week off of what you have or something like that. Electric's the same, gas is the same. So by the time you're done with those, you're down to 4,000. Your tax is 2. labor, franchise fees, all this stuff again stays the same. Well, again, you could bring this down to 2,500 or 25%, which would be what, $300. That's the same. Hopefully nothing breaks. Training you'd stop doing, but again, in total you're talking about taking 3,000 out. Still, you're going to be -7. Okay, and that's with PPP added, etc. Again, even if you took 750 out of that, you're still at 7. So negative, not good. So how long can you maintain doing that? Those kind of numbers. How long is your lockdown? All right, so let's try 50%. Where were we at here? This was 11,000. Still the same labor. Rent same. All these are the same. These come up. That comes back. Same. Higher. So now you're down to -5,000 at 0.5%, which is reflective of where you were at sales wise. You were at like 13, so not too far off, but you're still obviously not making money. Okay. Here's the other thing too, is when you guys reopen, and I brought this up, added it to the list, number 13. When you, let me bring this back to normal. So you've been operating at this rate, doing 100K, spending $19,000 every week on labor. Well, if you have to pay 40% of that back for however many weeks you're closed, you go from, let's see, what am I doing wrong here? That will leave PPP in. What's changed here? Oh, food cost. All right, so even at this rate, you're still making, before you were at 12%, 12,000 with the addition of PPE. When you're going to pay 4%, 40% of everybody's salary, that's $76.88. Your profit goes down to $41.99. It's a lot less appealing, and that's week after week after week. And this number would be locked in. That becomes a fixed cost. And that'll be the same because you're still paying off of this, what you spent the previous weeks. That's what their unemployment is figured off of, is what they were making, which is equivalent to what you were spending. So your great restaurant, just that addition and PPE goes from making $12,000 a week to $4,200. So I don't think I need to show you. Fuck it, but I will. Let's say 50%. That back to 49. Brings that down to 9. Now you're losing $10,000, almost $500 a week. How long can you do that? How much PPP loan did you get? This is what I'm saying. You got to change. You got to make drastic changes to your model. So what I see, realistically, food cost is going to be, let's say, be optimistic, and we'll say 0.38. I do think this is going to happen in some fashion or another. There are states, I think if you look into what Ohio did, they may have forgiven this somehow. So I don't know where. Obviously, every state almost got close to $3 billion from the Fed. So maybe that's what they're going to use it for, depending on where you're at, again, and how long your lockdown is. This is a number, or this type of scenario, 40% of this is what you need to be concerned about. That's not going to go anywhere. So again, now we're down to $200 if we got to 100,000 again, but we're not going to because I'll start cutting this up for real. Let's see what's going to change here. Well, I'll take it out of the sales. If you know why restaurants are open Monday through Friday for lunch, it's to serve business clientele. And they're all working from home. So 3,500 is now 1,500. And again, I'm not saying there isn't a demand to go out to dinner or lunch for that matter, but this is circumstantial. The lunch thing happened because people happen to be out there. Dinner, if you can only fit half your restaurant in, let's say optimistically you got a little more than half. Let's say you got 4,000 spaced out. And again, this is over 8 hours, so you can still fit, X amount of people in here, 200 every wave if you have to, but it doesn't mean they're coming either. So either way, you're going to see a loss. Again, Tuesday lunch is down. We'll give it 15. We'll call this 5,000. 15. 5,500. 2,000. 6,000. 13. You can say, what I forgot to show you here was sales percentage Friday PM through Sunday AM. So a 48-hour window, your weekend, it came out to 42%, I believe. They came within that window of opportunity, but just to show you. So obviously Friday and Saturday, these big shifts here, and even Saturday day and Sunday day, in order to pull these off, you have to have a wait. You have to have people waiting in a waiting room, outside, at the bar, crowding around, not 6 feet apart, okay? And you have to probably get a dining room to turn at least 3 times to get to this, a full dining room. So if you're going to do half the dining room and nobody can wait around, we're going to bank on to bring in 42% of your whole week has just been slashed to probably something more along the lines of this. But we'll be optimistic and we'll say 7,000. And maybe you can do some to-go stuff too. Saturday day, people are bored as shit. Maybe you got some good to-go business and some lunch. Again, this, people are bored. We'll give it 85. Sunday day, we'll say 3,000 again. But Sunday night, you got not much left. You got 3,500. Okay. So you're basically down to 54,000 in sales. And obviously your labor is going to change. Somewhat, depending on how much you change your model. But, this could go down to 3. This could go down to 6. 3 again. 6. Realistically, I'd be cutting these hosts. Specials over on Wednesday. So these servers are going to have to work the door basically at lunch. And there's not going to be anybody there for lunch. Screw this. I don't even need that many. Let's go to 4. And we'll keep this at 3. If 6 can do 5,500, they can do 6,000. Definitely don't need that. We're going to go with 4. We'll keep one host on Friday day. Nope, no, we're not. One there, better be the best one. See, this is where having good managers come in. Realistically, you got to be able to be flexible, and cover all these positions. Basically, work as support staff for everybody. Excuse me, Corona. I'm gonna cut out Sunday night's host too. We're not gonna go. We're gonna go host list down to 1. We'll keep 1 there. Bar. Let me finish this. 4. Let's see. That's gonna be down to 7. It's gonna be down to 5. 8. That's your busiest shift right there. 8 servers from 15. And then five, and I'll keep a extra one here too because we're going to cover the host. So it's kind of a wash, but dish we can cut down to 1. This can be 3. It's 6. 5. 6. Take one more of those away. Give them an extra cook that can float and do both. Friday morning, we're going with 5. And this is people's paychecks coming out, just so you guys know. It's going down to 1. All right, so it's 270 shifts. We're down to 187, 37 whole. Still in the same ballpark. 40%ish of your sales is coming on those peak on that weekend, and this is all hypothetical that you can get them in. Okay. My good labor is shot to shit. You had to let a couple managers go, or everybody took a pay cut. Let's call it that. Everybody took a pay cut. So instead of making 8 something a week, you're down to 456. All right, but you still need all 5 of you. Labor's down to, still costs $13,000, and it's 24% of your cost. All right, so $54,000. This is at half capacity with coronavirus. Labor's 13. Food cost is at 38%, 16,000. Beer, wine, and liquor is optimistic. You're doing that. These are the same. So here's what you're left with before tax. So you're down to 11,000. You might be able to pay this, and the rest of this you're all screwed on. Yep, $14,000 in the hole with PPE, unemployment, running half your tables. You can go back and apply that, put in 75%. But these are real numbers. These are realistically what you're going to be slashed down to if you're trying to pull off a casual dining. And this is why I'm saying places like the Cheesecake Factory could very, very likely close. So I don't know what else to show you. I mean, there's other scenarios, but they're all going to show you the same thing. So it comes down to what you have, what you can do, what you can change, and it also comes down to this. And again, if you take this out of the equation, this shitty scenario gets a lot, not great, but it gets better. So if you find out what's going on with unemployment in your state, that's obviously top top priority right now for a lot of people, and then figure out where you can cut your costs. Realistically, what I would be doing was kind of what I was implying here with these hours. If your lunch business, if you're in a location where your lunch business is going to completely dry up, I wouldn't even open the doors, or if I did, I would just keep doing the takeout curbside model and not bring your cooks and staff in. So you can run a bartender and either a server or a host to answer phones, pack orders. Still bring your 5 cooks in, but instead of bringing them at 7, 8, 9 in the morning, you bring them in at 10, 11, 12. And realistically, they're just prepping for the one night shift. They can be out of there. You can cut them. We'll keep a dish. Actually, screw it. We're not doing dish. They can do dish. Tell them they're lucky to have 5 of them there instead of 4. And I know that sucks, but that's the truth. PM, we'll keep this the same because we're going to try to do this. But realistically, that's hoping to do 1,500 on to go. Whatever. We'll be optimistic. And then again, we'll open at 4 o'clock for dining room business, try to squeeze in $4,000. Okay, that's the plan. Here, we'll go back to the host, cut out these, cut out this. We're going to have to cut one of these too. And this. And this. And this. All right, so where's my lunch staff? Go down to 5, 0, 5, 0. So Wednesday AM, Thursday AM, Friday AM they get a dishwasher back. Saturday, it's going to have to go down to 2. I wouldn't even be open Saturday for lunch. Keep doing the to-go stuff. People's buying habits have changed to that point, so that's just where we're at. Take these out. Definitely take one of those out. Keep dish, because you got no host. You don't need to be pulled in 2 directions. Pick a direction you want to cover as a manager. You know, as I'm writing this, I'm thinking about what shifts I would be on, and I'd close Sunday night, and I'd be able to help cover the door, and I don't want to worry about covering dish. The rest of the week, I'll be there during the week, Monday through Friday. So that brings us down to 20%, which is pretty nice. That's nice. Good job. Still, everybody's making dog shit money, but at least we're keeping all of our full-timers on. Let's put it that way. The part-timers are gone, with the exception of a few, but we got our full-timers left from the previous business. Okay? So labor's down to $10,000. Food cost, we're trying to control it at 38%. We'll see if we can get it back down. This, again, optimistic. This could be up or down. Still losing $3,800 without unemployment as a factor. I mean, honestly, this is one of the best case scenarios I can come up with on a quick notice off of this model, and get my labor down to where it's manageable, and it's just not feasible. And again, it comes from your model, your footprint, your previous footprint, and this is what Pizza Hut was trying to do. They were trying to shift to a smaller footprint to prevent something like this from happening. Okay? And that's what I'm suggesting you need to do. You can play with as much of this as you want, but you're gonna do is probably get to break even. And here you're making a lot of sacrifices. This is 2008, 2009 restaurant on crack type of scenario, trying to run it, and you're still only getting 20% labor. And your $5 million restaurant went down to half, if you're lucky. And your managers are working for pennies. So again, it's how long are you going to keep them? How long can you keep them? And then again, how long can you keep the public? And I'm not saying there's not demand. People don't want to go. But how many restaurants are going to close where everybody loses all their part-time jobs? How long is it going to take for that catch up where there's not the money to go out to a restaurant? And you resort back to what you've been doing while you've been living in hiding for the last 3, 4, 2, however many months this ends up taking for you. So I wish I had better news, but I think realistically we're still looking at something like this. I have yet to come out with a scenario or an arrangement where I come out profitable. And keep in mind, before this happened, we were making close to $13,000 a week, which is fantastic for a restaurant like that. 13% profit is almost unheard of, and a lot of it's because of controlling labor. So I can do the best I can to control labor here and here, and I still can't get this. Because if there's one thing that you can control outside of food cost, liquor cost, it's labor. And that's, like I said, about as good as I can do here without, pardon me, Rona, without sacrificing too much where you're not going to be offering anything close to the same product. So that's what you got to, above average, we're better than this. We can do better. We don't want to serve a mediocre product or deliver mediocre service, because we know that's not how you run a successful restaurant. And this is an above average one. But it's not looking that way anymore. So you guys get what I'm picking? You understand what I'm saying? It's not looking good. I wish I had better news. Could be more optimistic. I'm not this much of a downer in under normal circumstances, but you guys took all my restaurants away, so this is what you get. Now you get to see the truth. I would love for somebody to prove me wrong. Please do, and I know there will be those that do in terms of restaurants that make it. But how long can your big chains go running like that? Best case scenario, post COVID, 50% capacity. This is why Ray Washburn said, "Don't do it half-ass. Don't even try." This might be your to-go. This might be your real life right now, doing to-goes. And it's not going to work out for you because it hasn't so far. It could be anybody too. No model could not be affected by this. So, again, I wish I had better news. Sorry to be the one to deliver it, but I want to get this out there, and realistically get this damn video over with, and this series of videos over with, because I want to be able to talk about other stuff. So again, for your patience and whatever attention, enjoy the rest of this song. Talk to you later.